How amazing to start a brand new project with a classic top 5. However, this video is being dubbed Top 5 Regrets of Buying the New Volkswagen Transporter. This is the new Volkswagen Transporter, and unlike the one that I test drove earlier in the year, this one is mine. I have owned this van less than 24 hours, and needless to say, I have my regrets. In fact, I have a whole list of them. And before you say, well, yeah, you will have. You've bought a Volkswagen Transporter made by Ford, and it's got a wet belt, and it looks like a Ford Transit. Not that. I knew all of that before I opted to buy one of these. It gets worse than that. And here is that list in chronological order. 6 months, not 12 weeks. £1,000 deposit contribution lost. Warning light after 20 minutes, incorrect upholstery, shoddy valet, and the cherry on the cake, damage to the paintwork. So from the top, 6 months, not 12 weeks. I showed an interest in this van first week of January of this year. About a week later, I had my configurator code sorted out and I placed my order. I was told from there on that it would take about 12 weeks to build the van and get it into this country on the road. It was 6 months. It was about 3 months before they even told me that they were beginning to build it. That is awful, considering they are in fact struggling to sell these T7s because people are a little bit ominous about the whole situation. That's not very good. And I was tricked out of £1,000. That's the way I see it. So when I first placed the order for this van, mid-January 2025, there was all kinds of add-ons for the purchaser, such as a deposit contribution. A strange one, I had Volkswagen Finance on my white van, and because I was a Volkswagen Finance customer and I was settling that to buy this, they gave me another £2,500 deposit contribution, which I thought was pretty awesome. Then I saw a video online, someone talking about in the month of March, you will get an extra £1,000 deposit contribution. An extra £1,000 off for ordering it in the month of March. Now, I can only think that the orders didn't go down like they thought it would, and they were like, please, you know, let's take £1,000 off deposit contribution, a little bit more, a little bit of a, there you go. Hopefully get some people through the door. At that stage, I phoned my dealership. I said, well, nothing's happened with my van. You haven't got a build date. It hasn't been in build. The order hasn't actually gone through its next stage. I could still change the spec at that point and it wouldn't hinder anything. I want that £1,000. You're getting £1,000 for loyalty. I ordered them this the week it came out. Where's my £1,000 for loyalty? I should be, naturally. He did say, in fact, we could unticket it, re-ticket the same, but, and here's the kicker, I'm not sure how that will affect the timeline. Not sure if that was a scare tactic or an honest remark. For me, at that stage, I wasn't willing to hinder the non-eventful path that it had already taken up to then, so I left it. But then it chewed on my mind, and I mentioned it to him, and I said, look, what's the crack here? Because that is £1,000. That's like not to be sniffed at. I left things off of the build that were £1,000 because they were £1,000 that I would have loved to have had. Perhaps I wouldn't have even reduced the price by £1,000. I would have just added something to the spec for the same money. He said to me, I'll tell you what, you'll probably be able to sort it out at the other end. At the other end, before you sign the dotted line, talk about the £1,000, go from there. We had that conversation, me and that man. He then went on to leave. He left the company, doesn't work there anymore. Conversation pretty much never happened. No, you can't do that. So the people that ordered it in March are £1,000 better off than me just because they ordered it 2 months after I did. How is that fair? So that warning light, while not an actual problem, I hope isn't something a little bit more sinister. Everybody talks about the wet belt because they've heard other people talk about it. And I know there are some owners that have had problems, and you find them in the comments as well. Some guys, I've had 6 transits and all of the wet belts have gone. But after the 5th one, you still bought the 6th one. People that actually know that there are problems with the electrics. The electrics seem to be a bit more of an issue in the new Transit than the wet belt ever was. So why is it telling me after 20 minutes of this engine ever being run, because you can see the run time of the engine, why is it telling me to take a break? And then 10 minutes later telling me to take another break, and then getting really aggressive and flashing red lights telling me to take a break. That's strange. And it's even stranger that I did nothing else, and for the remaining 2-hour drive, it didn't do it again. In a bid to get the wheels in motion on this build, I wanted to order my seat bed system that's going in this. That does not sound like a Golf. But I didn't know what upholstery I was going to expect with the van. The configurator, if you've ever configured a brand new van, you will opt for something and it may say to have that, you need this, or you can't have that because you've got this. A bit like the breakaway camera on the rear of this. If I said I do want a piece of glass in the tailgate, it would say you can have that, but that means you've got to take away this. That's how it works. And it was the same with the upholstery. I opted for 2 single seats, and that's what I've got, with armrests, heated, extra lumbar support, lovely, lovely, lovely. And then I went on to tick pretty much any box I could that I thought would make the interior a little bit nicer. So I've got some little dash panels that the guy at the showroom tells me none of the other vans have come through with yet. I got confused to exactly what interior upholstery I was going to end up with, but I wasn't concerned because both were neither here or there. If you had to pick one, I would have probably flipped the coin. But with that in mind, I contacted the showroom and said, look, I'm getting a little bit confused on the configurator. Please put my code into the computer and tell me exactly what interior I am likely to get. And then would you mind going outside and taking a photo of any vehicle with the same interior? They only use so many different upholsteries across all of the vans. So that's what they did. Absolutely fine. I received my picture and I sent it to the company that are going to be making my bed. Would you mind matching this? And that's what they've done. Except when I picked the van up, it was different. And with that flipping a coin in mind, I'm not gonna lie, if it landed on this pattern, I would have been happy, because it is actually, in fact, seeing them in the flesh, nicer than the other pattern, which I believe is called the Volkswagen Life. That was a problem. I found this out on pickup day, that the bed that I've ordered is going to be incorrect. So what a waste of energy that was. I may as well have had it in just in black vinyl. And apart from saying, oh sugar, they kind of weren't bothered that they had done that to me. It was kind of a, well, do you want the van or not? That's kind of how it felt. Like, that is the seats they come with. And I'm happy with these seats. It's just a shame that the seat I've had made for the back is going to be different. And that was it. That was the final nail in the coffin. I started to raise a bit of fuss then with the £1,000 deposit contribution just lost, the long wait time, the upholstery mistake. I understand that I couldn't work it out on the configurator because I've only ever done that once. This is their job. And the ironic thing is, he sat there in front of me trying to click the options that I had chosen to get a picture of this on the simulator, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't order a van with this upholstery on it tomorrow if he wanted to. So I don't quite know how that's happened. So I raised a little bit of fuss. Usually, I think, and I don't know if this is a currency at dealerships, but I've heard it before, mats. They were trying to offer, they would have offered me some mats, but they don't exist. So car mats that literally go by your feet, they don't exist. So they couldn't offer me any of them. So he said, I can take you over to parts if you like. What have you got in parts? You know, we got some pens and stuff like that. Not really willing to accept a pen as payment for the downfalls along this process of buying a £50,000 van. But then I got home and it got worse. So I've owned the van less than 24 hours. And I'm gonna wash it. So you must be thinking, oh, you must love washing vans. Got your new van, you're all excited, you're gonna give it a lovely little clean. That couldn't be further from the truth. I hate washing vans, especially black vans, but I have to. About half an hour after I got home last night, I was having a good look around the van, measuring a few things, because the shape's new, a bit wider, not as long as a short wheelbase. I looked on the roof to see A, the roof bolt fixings, and B, panels, shapes, that kind of thing. Never seen one. I found this. That's not just your standard bird droppings, that is totally untouched. And on top of that, you can actually see where they've cleaned and then just stopped. It's not good. It's less than good. It's worse than bad. That's terrible. That's proper upsetting. The valet job was shoddy, to say the least. Upon even the inspection that I did, you could see in the door jambs here how bad that is. On the face of it, the van looked clean, but it just isn't. In truth, it looks like I did it. My attention to detail with a lot of things on van builds, on parts, ask me about something, the chances are I've seen it. Washing the van is the least of my expertise. I hate washing vans, especially black. Don't know what I was thinking getting a black one. Just not seen many of them around. Everyone's gone grey or white at the moment, so I went black. Don't want to sound like a spoiled little kid now, but how is that fair? Spent over £50,000 on a van and they're letting it leave with all of that bird booger on it. And you can't tell me that someone's fitted that bike rack and not seen the roof, and someone's washed to there and not seen the rest. I didn't see it on the day, so perhaps it's my fault, but look at this. The van was parked immediately outside the door, and I went out and had a look around. But in fact, I don't know if you'll see it from the camera, but you can in fact see the bird shit from here. I can see it, so if the camera, I know it's bright, but you can see it from stood down here. So that's the situation I'm in, and I am waiting for a call back from the manager, because that, in fact, was the last straw, not the incorrect upholstery. That wasn't incorrect, but the incorrect information given to me. So I'm gonna have to hot soak them bird boogers and just pray that there's no lasting damage to the paintwork there. The roof is sorted, I hope there's no long lasting damage. It took a bit of getting off. I've washed the roof literally 3, potentially 4 times. It looks like it probably should have done the day I drove it away. I don't usually like to lean on the doom and gloom. I'm not that kind of YouTuber. There's no the end, or this is the worst, or everyone hates us, van life is over. That's not me. But this couldn't go unsaid. I've spent a lot of money on this, and it's not always plain sailing, I suppose, but that's it. That's done. Hopefully it's behind us. Still waiting for the general manager to ring me back. He's busy. A lot of meetings, these people, but we move on. There is a Volkswagen in there, so for you guys that love to hate this because it's not a Volkswagen and things like that, please stick around, because I'm going to try and claw out the good bits of this van and we'll see what we think. And for all the people that will say, what are you doing, man? Should have just bought a Ford because they're a lot nicer. There is some Volkswagen in there, and I'm going to bring that out. You will see. There are a few vans in the forecourt at the Volkswagen Centre that I bought this from that look lovely with just a few little bits on it. There is a good looking van in there, and I'm going to prove it. I'm going to bring it out. And I will continually call this the T7. So for those people that can't wait to just get on there and say, it's not a T7, it's the new Transporter. The T7 was the multivan. We all know that, but no one bought the multivan. No one is thinking of that as even a Volkswagen at all. Probably less so than this, believe it or not. So I can deal with the wet belt comments, and I can deal with the fact that I probably should have bought a Ford, even though that is cheaper. You build an all-wheel drive automatic, and that is cheaper than the Ford counterpart. So bear that in mind. So there's no should have bought a Ford anyway, but we won't have time for it's the new Transporter. When I say to you, I've bought a new T7, you picture this, and the first thing that comes to your mind is wet belt, not, oh, he's bought the multivan. So let's just move past that, because I'm going to have a lot of hate comments to deal with, and that's one that I just haven't got time for. So once again, please stick around. Do consider subscribing, because if anyone can do the swamper thing to a van, or a small van like this, I'm hoping it's me. Thanks once again for watching. This is probably about as doom and gloom as this channel gets. From here out, it's positivity and good things are coming to this, because I've got a shopping list as long as my arm.